organization for giving us the opportunity to present our work today. Thank you very much for staying around. I know it's the last talk of the day. And I will, let's see if I can make this work. I don't know. Maybe we have to turn the laser pointer on, I don't know. But in the meanwhile, I wanted to emphasize that I'm presenting the work today, but of course it's a work done from all the teams from all the people in the team of our collaboration, and we will show a picture at the end. Many of the people are here so that you can reach out to them. Okay, now this should work. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So I wanted to give you a brief overview of the future goal we have in mind. We would like to understand like system with many agents where they present some collective behavior. You may think about a colony of ants, or you could even think about cities. And the main idea that is in the back of our minds is that having like more and more individuals, it probably gives you a competitive edge over like some smaller groups, right? And that's basically why intuitively we are building larger and larger cities, right? We can be a bit more quantitative about this, and this is what motivated us to start thinking about collective behavior. There are like many different like real data sets that show like such power laws. Like you see that this is like log plot. In this case, I'm showing you the total amount of wages, the amount of money is produced by a city, let's say, as a function of its population. As you can see, it doesn't scale linearly, right? It scales super linearly, which means that the larger the city, the more money per person, right? And then we could discuss if it's distributed in a reasonable way. But this may be reminiscent to some of you because there is like similar relationships, like similar power law in organisms. This is known for a long time, like it's in the 40s, where you can see how the larger the organism, the larger the animal, basically, the amount of heat that you produce per day doesn't scale linearly, it scales sublinearly, which means that, again, the larger the animal, the more efficient it is. Like you need less food per kilo, let's say. So having this in mind, of course, like we go back to the populations and we would like to understand better the collective behavior that is there. But cities are very complicated, so we would like to do like some really well-controlled experiments with a few people and try to understand like the collective dynamics that they find. So to do that, we created like a simple video game where we do like experiments online. So like two people will connect to this video game and they will play together. We have like different versions, but I'm gonna focus in this talk in like one simple version so that we understand the basics. So they have to cook together. If they manage to cook, they get like a reward that is real money in the actual experiment, so that people are motivated to do this. And to create like one of these simple plates, they would need to perform several tasks in a sequence, right? Like they should pick a tomato, chop the tomato, place it on a counter, like pick a plate, like plate the salad and deliver, and then you get the money, right? So we would like to understand like different aspects or different factors that may affect the collective dynamics or the collective behavior that we find, right? And these videos are like real people like playing with this. And we also know a lot about who they are, in a sense. So the different factors that may affect the collective behavior may be like the different abilities, right? Like if each of these players or each of the avatars have different abilities, the structure of the map may affect how they behave, the role of the interactions, and also the reward that we give them, right? So for this talk, I wanted to focus on a very clear effect that we found, and we find it very interesting, and it's the effect of abilities. So basically what we do is like, we cannot control the humans, right, because they are what they are, but the avatars we can control. So one of the humans will be controlling an avatar with that, for example, moves faster. I don't know if you can see, but one of these two avatars, it can walk faster than the other, and the one that walks slower actually cuts faster. But they don't know in advance, right? So we make the experiments having like these teams that we call either high ability, when the both avatars are like fast at walking and fast at shopping, and another team that we call mixed ability teams. And these are different people performing the experiments. Either they do the high ability or the mixed ability. In the mixed ability, one of them is like fast walk, slow cutter, and the other one is like slower walk, fast cutter, right? So, like these are actually like the data that we get. Like we use like 70 teams with 2 people in each team for each condition. If we make the speed dimensionless, like in the high ability, the speed is 1 for everything. Mixed ability, you have like 1 avatar is lower at something. So there is like, I want to emphasize this, right? Like there is a strict disadvantage of the mixed ability teams compared to the high ability teams, right? So we do one experiment with this map where there is like a long counter, and there is like an opening there and an opening down there, and you find what you expect, right? Like the high ability teams, they're strictly better. They have larger abilities, so they perform better. They get more score, they get more money at the end of the experiment. However, if we change the map, and now we close this gap here, we find the opposite, right? Like now the mixed ability teams, like people controlling avatars that are strictly weaker or perform poorly, collectively they do better. They get more money at the end of the experiment, right? We would really like to understand this. Our hypothesis was the following. We said, okay, what is happening? Like probably high ability teams, because they are good players, they behave independently. They're cooking on their own, both of them, in both maps, right? And they don't start a collaboration where, by the way, in a collaboration they would get more points, because it's costly, right? Like if you try to start a collaboration while you get it started, like you are actually making less points, and they don't want to go through that. But mixed ability teams do the same in this map, because they feel, okay, we are doing kind of okay. I don't know, I would rather not to try to start a collaboration. But when you go to this map where they actually have to go around the counter, right? Like the one that walks slow is paying a very big penalty for that. So basically, there is a lower cost for that to start a collaboration. That's our hypothesis about like why they actually start collaborating, and because of that, they find a better collective behavior, and that can give them a better performance. So okay, so we actually look at the data and did like some unsupervised clustering analysis, where we can distinguish, based on the actions that each of the agents take, we can distinguish teams that are performing independently from teams that are like the blue and purple are basically the one that is like mostly walking, and the one that is mostly cutting, so they are collaborating. And in the open map, in this one that I showed you here, mostly both types of teams are behaving independently. But when we change the map, indeed, the mixed ability teams, almost all of them start to collaborate, whereas there is still a big proportion of high ability teams that they still behave independently, and that's basically the reason why we find like this crossing, right? So, okay, this is the observation. Like we observed this, and we were very excited, and now we wanted to model it, right? And try to understand what are the main factors, or what is driving the decisions of people when they do this, right? So to do that, we moved to reinforcement learning. Many of you probably know about it. The ones that don't know, I will give you a like super brief summary. So basically, reinforcement learning algorithms is a type of artificial intelligence algorithm that basically what you should imagine is that there is what is going on? An agent that it observes a state, like where the plates are, what is your position, what is the position of the other agent, and so on. It takes an action, it may get or not a reward, there is a new state, and the thing goes on. So in our case, our reinforcement learning agent is like a neural network, which is a very powerful model, but of course, like difficult to interpret sometimes. And what the algorithm has to do is like to optimize a policy, and a policy is the probability to take an action given the state that you are at, so that you maximize the cumulative reward, right? Like you want to make as much money as possible, like playing this experiment. So what we realized is that when we tried to we put our reinforcement learning agents to play, and they were not doing the same as the humans, right? To reproduce the human behavior, we needed to add like some contributions to the rewards that we were giving them. The first contribution is the same one that the humans have in the experiment. You know, if they prepared one of these plates, they get a reward. But there are like two new contributions. One of them is a small penalty that we give to the agents every time they in the mixed ability teams, they perform an action at which they are not good at, right? Like they maybe chop when they are the slow chopper. And the third contribution is like basically this sense that intuition I try to give you about the cost of starting a collaboration. So when they are like acting or working collectively, if they are making like less points that they would be doing individually, they get a penalty. And of course, that penalty is larger for the high ability teams because they do well already individually. So when we add like these contributions to the reinforcement learning model, we get the human behavior. And for us, that means that this is probably like some factors or some mechanisms that are affecting or guiding the decisions that the humans are making when they play, right? Okay, now that we have a model, we can make predictions. So we make predictions where we change independently the ability of one agent and the ability of the other in different maps. You know, the background color is the score of the mixed ability over minus the score of the high ability. So red means the high ability team is doing better than the other one. And the diamonds that you see in some of the tiles are new experiments that we made to validate this, and they align very well, so we are very happy. But I have to say, there is a region here on the left where reinforcement learning agents in the mixed ability teams do not learn well, and actually in the human experiments they do. And we wanted to understand like this difference, right? So to understand all this and to gain a better intuition of what is happening, reinforcement learning, as I say, is not sometimes not easy to interpret what is happening inside the neural network, how this policy is evolving, how they are learning. So we try to make even a simpler model, an analytical model that we would have like some equations that we can solve, and hopefully we can get a better intuition of what is happening. So this is a very, very simple model where, you know, we abstract completely the game, and now we have like two agents that can only do two actions. Either we call it cut or walk, but it's like basically they can do two things that they take some time, and these are two parameters that we can control in the model. So the time it takes you to cut may be different than the time that it takes me to cut. This is reminiscent or analogous to the abilities that we have in the game. And also we add another parameter that we call S, that is the time that it takes you to switch. In a way, we are trying to abstract this idea of like you have to go around a counter or the structure of the map. How long does it take me if I'm doing something to now change my task to something else? And now we do, I know I do not have time to explain you all the equations, but just to show you one, is like what is the probability that I cut if I cut in the previous step, right? For that, we have like a very simple function with only two parameters, and the only thing I want you to remember actually from this slide is that this parameter B, it's telling me how much I'm gonna cut all the time. So if B is very large, I would probably cut at every action. And the A is like the propensity to alternate. So if A is very large, I will probably like cut, walk. So we interpret that as something that is working, someone that is working individually, right? Like if you are doing both tasks, probably you are doing things on your own. If I'm doing something all the time, like cutting all the time, I probably expect you to walk all the time so that we make points together, right? And thanks to this simple model, we can actually like get analytical equations that we can solve, we can study, and we create like other phase diagrams where now we can play it a lot with our parameters. For example, on the horizontal axis is like the ability of the mixed ability team. So we go from very bad mixed ability teams to basically high ability on the right. And in this case, in the vertical axis, we have like this S parameter that tells me how much does it take to switch between one task or the other. That you know, it's very general, but you could imagine it's like something like changing the map to have a longer and longer counter that it takes you a longer time to go around. And you see, like now analytically, we get again like a big red region where mixed ability teams do better. And now we can understand mathematically why that happens. So we can have like diagrams like this, where the upper one is like for mixed ability, the lower one is for high ability. This is point 1 here, where high ability are doing better than mixed ability. That's why it's blue around. And basically, if you look here, I know there is a lot of information, but I hope you can stay with me. Basically, this blue dot in the middle of the two panels is like some random trajectories that we throw, and you can see that they stay around there. So they start being specialized. They start like being behaving independently, both players, and they stay around there because the gradients are very low, and that's why now mathematically we understand what is happening. At the background color for the high ability is larger, right? So that's why they make more points, right? So what happens if we go to this point 2 here? What happens is like actually we see how now the gradients change. Now the mixability diagram is asymmetric because one of the players is going to be better at cutting than walking, and we can see like how mixability, both of them are specializing. High ability also are specializing, actually, as we saw in the data that we analyzed in the real data, but mixability do it faster or better, right? That's why they get more points. And finally, I told you that basically this blue region, it was where the humans do different than the reinforcement learning. Actually, we understand why the reinforcement learning, the mixed ability are not learning. It's like they would like to specialize so much that the gradients there again are small, so that high ability does much better. So we have a good analytical intuition of what is happening. So to wrap it up, right? You know, I started with a very ambitious plan where we wanted to understand big colonies, right? And now we are like doing experiments with 2 humans, right? So there is still a long way to go. But my message would be that we are building like this structure, this framework where we can do like really well-controlled experiments. We, of course, can build it up to more people, but it's still like a lot of room for collaboration or new ideas. So please reach out to us if you have ideas. Like, for example, it would be nice to develop like universal theories or mechanisms across different species, right? Or different metrics or new metrics to measure like this collective behavior, or even like new experiments or real data, right? Like in cities, like we are tracked all the time, right? So if we access this data, it's probably something interesting to look at. As I promised, these are the people involved in the collaboration. You can find many of them here these days, so please reach out to them, or if you talk to me, I'm happy to direct you to the person who was the most involved in each part of the project. We have like 2 posters on Friday, so that's also a great opportunity to know better details. And we are, again, like really thankful and grateful to Human Frontier Science Program Organization for giving us the chance to work together. Thank you so much.